What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. Super excited as usual to be in the studio, and I've got Lisa Humphrey in the studio with me. So excited to talk about coaching and growth and mindset and her story and her journey. And speaking of Lisa, I want to talk about something. It's December right now, and we're at the end of the year. And so this would be the time as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you're probably thinking about goals for 2024, what you need to accomplish, what you need to start working on, thinking about, what is 2024 going to look like? Are you planning to take any time out to get outside of your business, to look at your business and what is going in? So I have an opportunity for you, and I'm super excited to talk about it. It's me and Lisa were just talking about it. We're promoting it early this year. So there is an event in June called the Entrepreneur Unplugged. If you're a listener to this show, you've heard me reference this event that's happened this last June several times. We've had several guests that I've met from that event on the show, including Lisa, which is super exciting. So it's really cool how this ties in. So super awesome event, an opportunity for you to get outside of your business in June. So we're talking about right now, we're going into the year, setting your goals, setting your intentions. In June, you're going to get that opportunity to get outside of the box. Look at, are you on track? You're halfway through, you're on track, but let's get outside of the box and be on a farm with a campfire with other amazing, incredible entrepreneurs that are out there doing their thing, surrounded by over a dozen speakers, both regionally and locally. We've got yoga, we've got all kinds of different wellness stuff, live music, campfire, and an opportunity to camp overnight on this incredible farm. Oh, and food that's made and prepared right there. There's so many incredible things. I'm excited to talk about everything that's going on. But if you're hearing this excites you, and you maybe you haven't picked out all of your Christmas wish list stuff, and you want to let people know, hey, put this on the wish list. This is an opportunity to get out. Or maybe you have an entrepreneur in your life that you're like, this would be a great thing to send them to mid-year. Get that gift right now. There's an opportunity. There's a link that'll be up here. If you're watching the video, you'll see the link popping up. If not, if you're listening to the audio, you'll see the details in the show notes. So check it out. Again, so many incredible people. And with that, welcome, Lisa, to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited. So you were one of the first. I remember getting there. This last event was not at Narren Farms. It was at the bee farm.
Yes.
And in walking up, and you had like the drums.
Yes.
And so tell me, we've got a chance to meet, and you got a chance to share your story with me. Tell me first, what do you do and how did you get there?
Yeah. So I started out about 9 years ago. It'd be 9 years in January. Actually, I opened a fitness studio, and it's Studio 8 Fitness in Waterford. And then just this past year, I opened a coaching practice to kind of help people that were still feeling stuck, not only in their fitness and their nutrition, but also in their life, because they all play a role together. And so I opened that this past year, and was able to have the opportunity to come to the Unplugged retreat to kind of debut that business and to talk about what it does and how it helps people.
That's so cool. So I didn't know that was the debut event.
That was the debut event.
How's it been going?
Oh my gosh, it's been so good. It's been able to really, touch people in ways that I wasn't able to connect with them through fitness and nutrition. It's able to help them reach deeper in themselves, to help them succeed more, whether it's, in their career, in their family life, in their, if they're an entrepreneur, but also in their fitness and wellness. People get stuck in that cycle of they're in it to win it, and they're going, full steam ahead, and then they fall off, and then they come back and they do the same thing and they fall off. And I started noticing that was happening with people in the fitness studio. And I'm like, there's gotta be another way. There has to be another way. And so from my personal journey, and what got me into fitness was I was facing a critical medical issue where I had blood pressure that was so dangerously high. I was taken into the hospital, and I was given a choice. You either make some changes or you're going to die in 6 months. And I knew right then and there, I had to make some serious changes.
Wake-up call, literally.
Complete wake-up call. And so after I got out of the hospital, I remember sitting in my living room, like, I don't know what to do. Like, my body hurts. I'm not able to function like a normal person. And I just thought, I need to take some steps forward before I lose my opportunity to. And so I started just doing my own little workouts with diet and exercise. And before I knew it, 5 years later, I had lost 215 pounds and opened a studio.
Wow.
So,
Isn't that incredible? Because I think so many people, like, where do I start? Because they are facing that. They're, what movements can I do really?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because everything hurts. When you have like 200 extra pounds on you, you don't move like you move
Yeah.
200 pounds less. So finding exercises that worked for me were difficult. So I started by walking, and it was as simple as my goal is to just walk to the next mailbox, because that's all I had. That's all I had. And then it was 2 mailboxes, and then it was 3, and then it was around the block. And I had never to that point been to a gym in my life. I was a dancer my whole life. That's all I knew. And I decided that I might as well look for a dance class, because that's all I ever knew how to do. And so I found an adult dance class and walked in. And of course, everyone looked at me because I didn't fit in at all, body-wise. And I danced, I went through the class, and then the instructor came over to me, and I thought for sure she was going to tell me that I was doing something wrong. And she didn't. She just said, "You know what? You move beautifully." She walked away. Like, wow, she sees something that I don't. And so I kept going back. And 5 years later, we opened a studio together.
Wow.
It was crazy, but such an incredible experience.
Like, I've heard this story before from you telling me before, and like you just saying that gave me shivers, because it's just, what is that power of that belief of somebody just coming and saying just something so simple?
Oh my gosh. It's an incredible feeling when someone believes in you more than you believe in yourself. And I said to her after, a couple years of losing weight and doing her classes and working out with her, I said, if I can do for one person what you've done for me, that will fulfill my life. I wanted to give that one person who was sitting in that hospital bed facing, change or die, the opportunity, and to believe in them. And the opportunities that I've had to do that for people over the last 9 years have been incredible. The most amazing experiences of my life.
Did you think when you started your journey, would you have ever been able to fathom that you'd be in this spot right now?
Never. Because even though I was doing the 1 mailbox, 2 mailbox, I didn't ever think that I would be able to lose the weight. And when I started to, it was fast, because I had so much to lose. And I'm like, this isn't hard. It's a mindset shift. And once I was able to shift my mindset to, I don't have to lose 200 pounds today. I just have to lose 1 pound this week. I just have to lose 2 pounds this week. Once I put it in a perspective of bite-sized chunks versus eating that whole elephant, my mindset was able to shift. And, I remember in my journey where I would step on the scale and I would see numbers that, first there wasn't a 3. My weight didn't begin with a 3. And then it didn't begin with a 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that is so cool. And to be able to stand next to someone while they step on the scale and they see numbers that they've never seen before, such an incredible feeling. Such an incredible feeling.
It's literally, it's life-changing.
It's absolutely life-changing. And then I found myself, though, having relapses and going back to old patterns and old ways, and knowing that I needed to continue to move forward or I was going to slip right back there, because that's how it is, right? Like, eating and food is a strong addiction. Mm-hmm. And if you don't stay on top of it, and I decided that it was a lifestyle change for me. It was never a diet. It was a lifestyle change. I didn't want to die. And so once I made the mindset shift for myself to say, this is a lifelong battle, this is something I have to look at every single day of my life, that's when it started really changing.
Well, because we think about it, and I love when you talk about even like coaching, because it's really the missing element. We can work out and inspire and do those things, but like, you can go back to your old ways, because it's your pathways. It's the way that you think. It's a trigger. It's going back to your childhood and things that you don't even know.
You don't even know they even are in your present day, because they're so programmed in, they become white noise.
Yeah.
And in the coaching world, we call that your ego chatter. That's just chatting away in your brain and making you believe things about yourself that are not true, that have just come from experiences that you've been through throughout your whole life. Like I go back to like when I was 4 or 5 years old, like my family would like squeeze my cheeks together and call me a chubby bunny and make me say it, and they thought it was cute. And at the
Yeah.
moment I didn't know any better. But
Yeah.
as I grew up, I'm like, that set some seeds in there that just continued to grow. And the way I started relating to myself and believing things about myself, that kept coming up even in my adult life.
It's literally just a reinforcement over and over and over again. Like, how do you overcome that, especially if you don't know what you're dealing with?
Exactly. I mean, it takes a lot of healing. And that's why I picked the coaching program that I did pick, is because it's not just the typical self-help, which, don't get me wrong, self-help is fantastic and it has its place. But I knew I needed something deeper than self-help. And when I went through my first coaching course, it was all about healing those wounds and healing the traumas that came along with that. And going back and figuring out what about that incident being called a chubby bunny bothers me as a 40-some-year-old adult woman, and really looking at that and then having conversations. I remember sitting down with my mom. I'm like, do you remember you used to do that to me? Like, it still bothers me. And like, she had no idea. She was devastated.
That's the thing. It's like, it's not like they're meaning to be mean or meaning for, they don't know. They thought it was cute. There was no ill intention with that.
No. And to have that conversation with her and to see like her have the realization, like, wow, I can see why that would have been detrimental to you growing up, because I just started believing that the way I was supposed to be was chubby. And that's just how I was going to be for the rest of my life. And my family was okay with it because they just made cute remarks like that.
Yeah.
And that just was what life was like. And then here I am, late 30s, where I'm facing death because I let myself get into a situation that was so unhealthy.
So unpacking that, because again, like parent, like when you're going through with a coaching client, how do you like unpack that?
Yeah. So we spend several weeks on unpacking those things. And the term that we use in coaching is, how do you relate to yourself? Like, what do you think about yourself on a daily basis? And, if I were to go write them down, it would be like, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not like the other people. I don't matter, because I didn't think I did until I did all of that unpacking and figuring out exactly those moments that still haunted me and took them apart and healed them. I mean, when we heal in layers, right? So just like if you have a physical wound on your body, it heals in layers. So there's, the skin starts to rebuild, and then, the fluid comes and acts as a cushion. And then, the skin on the top finally regrows, and maybe you have a scar there, and it just doesn't look like it looks when it's a fresh wound. And so the goal of coaching is to really get them to a point where it becomes a scar versus an open wound.
Before we get back at it, a quick shout out for our sponsor, Playbook Builder, powered by AI. This show has always been about giving the resources and the tools to small business owners in order to grow and scale your businesses successfully. And so I'm so excited to partner with a company that does just that. If you've listened and heard any of our guests, you've heard talking about building process, developing and training, building culture are all such important pieces in order to building a great company. Well, Playbook Builder, powered by AI, has come along and revolutionized the game on how you can do that for your team and people. Whether you're onboarding new people, training and developing, continued training and developing, you're looking to scale your business or eventually sell, or most importantly, you're looking to build a legacy as a visionary. Playbook Builder, powered by AI, is able to solve those problems for you. For me as a consultant, I've been able to plug in, and it's so amazing for what I do for clients. I can now leave a legacy. And so, for example, I'm next week training a new hire for a company, and I've been able to build out the next month of her training program using Playbook Builder, powered by AI. The cool thing about the AI, what does that do? What's the hardest part of building out a process? taking the step by step and making it easy to learn. What the AI piece does is you can actually type in what process it is, whether you want to onboard, if you want to onboard a new employee, type in onboard a new employee and what type of industry you're in, and the AI will put together a foundation for you to build out your playbook. It is absolutely incredible. But don't take my word for it. Head on over to playbookbuilder.com, and these guys have set it up to where you can take this for a test run with no obligations. Plug in what kind of playbook you want to build. If it's a sales training playbook, for example, plug that in the description. And in the description, you can also put in what kind of industry you're in, and then hit generate, and it will generate a playbook for you. Impress from there, and you can take a 30-day free trial of the playbook system altogether. I love the scarring because it even ties back to everything that we're talking about now. Like, you've been able to make this, all this stuff that you've probably hated your whole entire life has been able to come back around to where it's a purpose and a passion to be able to help and empower other people.
Absolutely. The passion, I didn't know how passionate I was about coaching until I started coaching. Something inside me was just pulling me that way. And I originally, like I said, saw it where it would be a tool to help my personal training, nutrition, fitness clients. But the more I started coaching, I'm like, this could be very helpful for people who haven't even started working out because they don't believe enough in themselves to work out or think that they can make a difference. So when I started launching the coaching, we started talking about the difference between healing versus dealing. And a lot of people just deal, right? I'll show up at a fitness class. I'll work out 30 minutes. I'm doing something for my body, so okay. And I'm like, but are you just dealing with whatever is happening in your life? Or are you healing? Are you healing? And healing takes time. Healing, you got to go deep. You got to go real deep. And if you're not willing to go deep, then you still are on that dealing level. And so I teach people how to go deep and really start to layer that healing. And so, we'll pick one or two topics to really dive in on and show them what that healing process and that healing formula is like so that they can continue to work in layers. Every situation in life requires healing. It's not just you heal as a whole.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So it does take a little bit of time, but once given the formula and taught how to do it, it's definitely something they can continue on as different things pop up in their life.
I love that because I think through all of our journeys, we'll heal through something, and then something else will trigger us in another way. And so you felt like you felt like you were better, you felt like you were good, But it's another situation. It's a totally different deal.
Totally different deal. And where something you thought you healed from, and you have that other situation come up, that's totally separate. Totally separate. And you have to do and go through the whole process and the whole formula with that situation, even though it might be similar to the one that you've already healed from or let go. And if it is, it's just another layer of healing. Just another layer of healing. Like, you have to think of we talk a lot about forgiveness and healing, and not only forgiving other people that may have wronged you, but forgiving yourself. And once you're able to really forgive yourself, you can start forgiving other people. And that's where the real healing takes place. The real healing takes place right there.
So don't you think it's like in every situation you have to work on yourself before you can forgive anybody or love anybody?
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to love yourself, because how can you give true love back to somebody if you don't know how to do that to yourself?
Exactly. And if you're, quote unquote, loving someone from a place of being, in turmoil or unhealed or unsettled, I like to say, like, if you're loving someone, but you're still stuck, is that really love? And how do you take that love and make it a little bit deeper once you've healed?
It's a good question. How do you?
Oh my gosh. So taking it a little bit deeper is really looking inside and mastering we call it mastering the life cycle versus being in a spin cycle of like pain.
Yeah.
Pain causes people to do things that aren't rational. So if I can get them out of a pain cycle and put them into a mastering life cycle that includes forgiving, looking at themselves for the positive traits that they have, and getting people to realize that they have direct direct impact on their circumstances and relationships, then things start to change. When they become aware, we talk about awareness being something that kind of neutralizes situations. When you become aware, you know it's there, so it no longer holds the power over you.
Yeah.
And so once you get to a point of awareness, that's when the healing starts to really take place. You look at things different. You behave different. You're able to get out of that spin cycle just a little bit easier so that you don't stay stuck for, months or years on end, where you might just be stuck for a couple of days until you figure it out. I mean, as simple as maybe just stuck for a couple of minutes and then you jump to that life cycle.
I know I've had this several times through different healing journeys, and where it's like something that I used to get stuck on for weeks, maybe, it's like you're in a pity party for like 30 minutes and you realize, oh my God, I'm doing this, because you're spotting it, because you're aware. Most of the time when if you're in this for a week, if you're allowing this to control you, you're not aware of where you're at.
No, not at all. You're not aware of where you're at. And when you lose awareness, that's when you start to spin in that cycle again until you regain awareness or something happens that shocks you, like being told you're going to die if you don't make changes in 6 months. That will shock you out of the cycle and get you to look at life in a whole new light. I'm telling you, it wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. I mean, every day I thought, is this the day? Did I wait too long?
Yeah.
Am I going to walk to the next mailbox and that's going to be it? My heart's not going to take it anymore.
Just the internal worries and struggles through that process is going to be extremely difficult, because you're going through that journey. You're not mastering the mindset yet. You just made the decision to make the walk to the mailbox.
Exactly.
You still have that internal thought that's gotten you to where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
The chubby bunny and the internal programming.
Exactly. And it just spins out of control. And I remember days it was the day that I hit 4 mailboxes. I mean, it was so hard. I remember my knees ached, my hips ached, my heart was beating out of my chest. And I'm like, most everyone in this world can do this. And this is so hard for me. Maybe it's not even worth it. Maybe I just waited too late. And there were times I had to talk myself out of giving up. And I see clients do that all the time, talking themselves out of giving up. And it's the coolest thing. It is the coolest thing to watch them. You can almost see it in their mind, and they talk themselves right out of giving up. And here we are, we're back on the healing journey again, and they're going forward. And then we might have a little stumble where they talk themselves maybe this isn't for me. I shouldn't be doing this coaching, and just let them talk, because they can talk themselves right back to being on track. Yeah. We know internally, we know what the right answer is. We all have intuition. We just have to listen to it. We have to learn to hear what it sounds like and trust it. Trust the gut, right? But trust the intuition. And that's what will get you out of that spin cycle.
I've seen that reoccurring a lot lately, is that trusting the intuition. Let's talk more about that, because I do see that. Often we get again, this intuition or this feeling, this gut feeling, and we say it and we ignore it or push it away. And
so I see that a lot, where people will have they know what they want to do, and the intuition is do it, go, write the book, start the business, change the career, and they talk themselves out of it because of fear.
Yeah.
The fear is so strong, and then it relates back to how they relate to themselves and that ego chatter from when they were a kid, when someone told them along the line that they can't do it. And so that's still it's almost like that snowball going down the mountain, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it comes down the mountain, until it's too big and you can't conquer it anymore. And you miss an opportunity that you were meant for because you didn't trust your gut because of fear.
Yes.
Fear can be so controlling.
It's a process, and it's you get excited, you get an idea, and you get excited, and you run out there, and then you have a moment where you let your mind catch up to you.
Yes.
And it becomes that snowball. This is kind of stupid, isn't it? Are people really going to like this? What are people going to think of me if I do this?
That's the big thing. It's what are people going to think of me?
What are people going to think of me?
Who cares?
I know.
Why are you concerned?
I've thought of this since I was in high school, and the biggest fear is not to die. The biggest fear is to speak in public.
Yes. But
at the end of the day, if you're going to die, what does it matter if you spoke in public and you made a fool of yourself? It doesn't matter, because you're going to be dead at the end of the day. I'd rather,
Yeah, I totally completely relate to that. It's just sometimes people get so paralyzed by the fear, they would just rather not do it and not reach for the success and not do what their heart's telling them to do because they're so scared of failing. And I'm like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You were no further back than you are right now. So you just try something different. And you keep trying and you keep trying and you keep trying. And what do you get along the way? Life lessons, experience. You learn, you grow. And then finally you find the one avenue that works, and the sky's the limit at that point.
And I love it. Again, you tried several different things.
Absolutely.
That then led you to the dance class.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to go back to what I knew and to go back to what felt right. And what felt right was dancing. Because that's always felt right. That's always been a safe space. That's always been something that my body just knew what to do. And the other things weren't, not that they weren't working, but I didn't like walking to the mailboxes.
Yeah.
It was boring.
Yeah.
It was the same thing every day. There's the blue mailbox, there's a red mailbox, And if I came to a dance class, I knew I was going to be able to engage so many more senses. And your body remembers. Muscle memory is a real thing. And my body just knew what to do.
It locked in.
It just knew what to do. And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the right spot. I'm in the right spot.
That's so cool. And I think it's so important to talk about the different things because, like, I've never been a runner in the sense I ran track in high school. I remember my last track practice in high school, my senior year. I was like, this will be the last time I run again. I don't love this like running around the block like 3 miles thing. And I still have no, like, if I see somebody running or jogging and stuff, I have no motivation to say like, oh, I wish I was them. I don't want to go run and jog. However, I love playing basketball. And when I'm on the basketball court, you wouldn't know that I don't run at all in my personal life. I run hard, and it's really cool when like 20-year-old people are like, God, you're so fast, or like, God, you just won't stop. That's my goal. But like, I get to go do my cardio, and it's something that I love to do. And now I work out in the sense of I want to keep longevity and I want to keep getting better at doing that. And so it helps me keep my workout commitment, because I then get to go do the thing that I love to do, that is running really hard. But I could never do that. No, I can't say, because it's a mindset thing,
It's
right?
mindset.
I could go run down the block and I could run 5 miles. I don't enjoy it.
Exactly.
Just like you didn't enjoy walking to the mailbox.
Nope. But if you're doing what you don't enjoy, you're 100% likely to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And so I, just like with everything else, when you love what you do, it's not a chore. It's not a task.
Yep.
So when I sit down with my clients, whether they be coaching or fitness, we talk about what don't you like? What isn't going to work? Because the last thing I'm going to do to a client who says, I don't run, I don't like to run, is make them run.
20 minutes on the treadmill when you get here.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to not come back. So in coaching, if my client says, I don't like writing, I don't like journaling, I'm not going to give them a journaling exercise. Instead, I'm going to show them how to open up a voice memo on their phone and do their journaling that way. They can just talk.
Yep.
They don't like to sit down and write, whether it's fear of what's going to come up or whether it's just, they just don't like to do it. So I always start any session with a new client asking what they don't like to do.
I love that it goes to that level of self-awareness, because if we can get to beating ourselves up of, here's a good example, my to-do list. I love writing them down. I'm not very good with putting them in my phone. And so when phones became all the craze and doing the to-do list, I tried over and over and over again to do that and would beat myself up like, oh, why can't I get this? But it's so easy for me, and it comes more natural to write it down on paper. So I have notebooks everywhere with my to-do list,
Exactly.
like I have them archived, so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same with anything else. Like, what's going to work for you might not work for me.
Yeah.
It might not work for the next person. But when we are really okay and we love ourselves for exactly where we're at and we accept ourselves for where we're at, it's going to come natural. It's going to work, right? So writing in a notebook works for you. I happen to be the same way.
Yeah.
I write a lot. I use my phone for scheduling and I use paper for planning.
Yep.
Is how I tell people. But, you have to do what works for you. If you're not doing what works for you, it's really not going to work for you, and it's going to set you 10 steps behind.
Yeah.
So knowing and being aware, sometimes people they've never had the conversation with themselves about what they don't like.
It's
Like,
so true. Most people don't.
no, they just do it because everyone else is doing it, or they do it like, I get this all the time with the ladies that come into the gym and they're like, well, Susie lost 50 pounds because she was walking every day, and I've walked every day for 6 months and I haven't lost 50 pounds. And I'm like, you're not Susie.
You're not Susie. Yeah.
Your body needs something different.
Yeah.
I have coaching clients that come to me and will say, well, my neighbor went through a coaching program and she's got a brand new life and it only took her 3 months. I'm like, well, not your neighbor.
Yeah.
You're not your neighbor. You're you. And you've got to celebrate you, and you've got to know you, and you've got to trust you, and you've got to love you. And that's when the changes start to happen. That's when the healing takes over and you start to just level up and level up and level up, and you're no longer stuck. There's no timeline on anything. It's not going to say you can lose 50 pounds in 6 months. It's not going to say you can change your life in 3 months, or you can be completely healed. It's different for everyone. And once you are aware that it's not a cookie cutter, that you're not a cookie cutter, that's when you have the healing. That's when you have the growth. That's when you have the success, because you become aware that it's not the same for every single person. And it's okay that you do things different. And it's okay that you have a different path. And it's okay that different styles work for you than work for your neighbor or for Susie.
We spend so much time trying to fix what we're not good at.
Absolutely.
Trying to fix our weaknesses or what we're not good at. We spend so little time focusing on our zone of genius in really just honing that and forgetting about trying to force something.
Yeah. Because we're always trying to force like the latest fad. I see a lot of people come in with fitness. They're like,
oh my God, fitness. Yeah.
Every new diet that crosses the internet, I get asked about, and I'm like, you're different. It's not you got to do what's healthy for your body, and what's healthy for your body might not be healthy for my body. So we have to figure out who you are so that we can be planning for you. You're unique. Everyone's unique. No one is the same. And
we talk about food and everything. Oh my God, it doesn't get any more unique than that.
Totally.
Everybody reacts differently to everything as far as their diet.
Exactly. And instead of trying to be like everyone else, I really encourage people through coaching and through fitness to just be like you.
I love it.
Be like you.
Yeah. That's what I love about coaching as opposed to training programs. There's so many... I hate our coaching industry because there are people that represent themselves as coaches and they have this boxed in program that will guarantee these certain results. And, you follow these steps, you'll get these results. And it's just not everybody is the same.
No, it takes people their own amount of time to get there. So when I always tell people, if they guarantee the results, they haven't worked with enough people.
Yep.
Because you can't guarantee results because everyone's unique. So where you might be at a certain milestone by a certain point, I can't guarantee your results because you're you.
You're
you.
I also, sales in working out is such a line parallel. But I've had several clients that have said this very similar thing, that they had invested in these high-end sales coaching or training programs. And it was a common thing that I got told this over and over again is I didn't believe in it. I learned all these things and they're probably all true. And there's things that the other programs have talked about that I talk about, because there's sales tactics or just the way things work with people. But they're like, I would leave and not believe that. What I would work on is the belief system. I believe it's just like working out. 90%, diet, 90% is the mindset, or 90%, all of it's the mindset.
All of it's the mindset. Yeah.
The rest of it is the small percentage is how you communicate and the process that you use and everything else, but you've got to believe it.
Totally.
And so I had this client that it reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite, when Kip it guarantees he's going to run over this jar and it's not going to break, and then he runs it over, and he was like, this is the worst day I've ever had in sales. He was like, I spent $5,000 on this coaching program, this sales coaching program. It's a famous one out there that people would know if I said it. I won't say it. But this was a common one that people were coming to me about. And he was like, he was like, I just didn't believe it. They gave me all these, if they say this, then you say this. If they say this, then you say this. If they give you this objection, you come back with this. And he was like, I was sitting in my car before the meeting, before this big sales meeting, and I was going through my if this, then this, and all these, like my whole script. And he was like, and the prospect or the guy said the exact thing that I was just reading. He gave me the exact objection. And so he was like, I replied exactly how it said in the book. And he was like, oh, you went through XIZ training too, didn't you? And he was like, it was the most embarrassing thing. He was like, I just left. He was like, he called me out. And he was like, I was like, I was not confident with it anyways. And then he was like, you saw my underwear, like you saw the like hoax that I was trying to play on him. He was like, it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever had. You gotta like understand who you are, understand your strengths. How do you communicate to people? Where do you excel at? Let's figure out those things. Let's not, in sales training, just in my career period, people would always come in and be like, I want to be like the best salesperson. Well, that person is very unique. There's things that you can take from that person, but let's really focus on how we can make you really good, because you've got a whole different unique set of personality traits and strengths.
Absolutely. The same goes into like coaching and fitness. Like some people's bodies respond really well to lifting heavy weights. Some people's bodies respond really well to cardio, and you have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Some people like high protein, some people like, high carb or high fat. And it's like, we have to figure out what works for you. And to figure out what works for you, I have to know what doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And you have to be aware on both sides. Because if you want to have the energy in life and you want to have the energy to be able to continue to work out, you have to know yourself. And that's the biggest reason that coaching came into my life, is because I went through the physical transformation. My mindset never caught up until I learned and had a proper coach. So I was still thinking those terrible thoughts about myself.
Yeah.
And the chubby bunny would still come in after I lost 215 pounds because I hadn't healed from it. The physical was there. The physical results were there. But the mindset results weren't there. And I was still that sad girl who felt that she wasn't good enough and that she didn't matter. And then I did the healing and realized I do matter. And it's good that I took the steps that I did. And knowing that I can have that impact and walk the journey with people is incredible. It is the best gift that has come out of this situation for me. Obviously my health, right?
Oh yeah.
But the best gift that came out of this was leading me down the path of teaching fitness and teaching health and teaching wellness and teaching mindset shift.
And what was the crossroads? What was that point where where you knew that you needed that extra thing or that coaching?
There was a specific moment. I was in a local department store shopping for clothes, and I had lost 215 pounds at that point. So, I mean, the clothes that I was buying were significantly smaller than what I was used to buying. And I went in and I knew that I needed, pants and shirts to go to work. And I pulled all that stuff in my cart, and I got home and realized that I had still pulled 5X clothing off the rack, knowing full well, I was not a 5X anymore. You
went there to get smaller clothing and still
pulled out because I'm like, no, it'll never stick. I'm not good enough to maintain this. I don't deserve this. I don't matter. This is a fluke. So I might as well just have these clothes because I know I'm going to go back there. And I'm like, hold on. My body's not going back there. My body's now craving exercise and craving good food and, eats on a schedule because my energy stays up. And I am like, my mind is not there. My mindset never transformed with my body. And I got home and I had all these clothes laid out on my bed. And I'm like, what was I thinking? And I'm thinking that my mindset is still back to that girl who was 215 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And so I packed it all up and took it back to the store. And it was another 2 weeks before I went back out shopping again, because it used to be such a traumatic experience for me. Again, my mindset didn't grow when my body transformed. So I knew at that point that it was a headspace problem, not a body problem.
Yeah.
And then I started seeking out some coaching to get myself in a spot where I could go to the store and it wouldn't be a traumatic experience, and that I could go to the store and be proud of the work I had put in to get healthy and to
Flipping
buy
that
the clothes
perspective all the way around.
completely coming full circle instead of spiraling in the pain and in the stuck.
I had a client that I coached that she's an optometrist, and I got this really cool visual about coaching and period. And I think it can be true for this too, is when you're a coach, it really, because you know what you know inside what you're supposed to do. You have the magic all inside to get the results. You need that shift in that perspective. And so comparing it to that optometrist, when you go to the eye doctor and they put that device in front of your face and they're like, do you see clear here or here, here or here? And that's what that coach really is there to do, is help you understand where you get the most clarity, right? To find your clarity.
Absolutely. Yeah. To find that focus, find where you can see clearly and see far in the distance and not just, right in front of you.
Because we need that, even like being able to have that person that like reiterates and like to your instructor that became your partner, was like just that belief level. The
belief level is huge, because when you don't believe in yourself, you have nothing. And I was so lucky to have her and to have her out of the blue. I had never met her before. And for her to say what she said and had more belief in me than I ever could muster for myself at that point is what saved me. I tell her all the time, I'm like, you saved me, because if it wasn't for you, I don't know if I would have been able to continue, because my mindset was so negative and I felt like I was so far gone. And those words that you said were what brought me back. And so I tell her all the time, she saved me. She's like, stop it. I'm like, but you did. You got me to where I'm at.
How cool of a relationship is that?
It's so amazing. It's so amazing. And we work so well together. And, it's fun when we get to teach classes together and spend some time together. And it's been really, really cool. I mean, we've been best friends for, well over 12 years now.
That's so awesome. It's so awesome how that relationship grows and unfolds.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I can call her for anything, and she's super supportive of, me branching out to do the coaching business and still maintaining the studio at the same time. And it's been a really amazing journey together for me to be able to go and then just grow even beyond just the physical part and be able to bring that back into the studio and to be able to apply it into our fitness world.
Yeah. Tell me about some of the classes that you have. I love getting up in the morning and see that you've already had this amazing class at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So we teach a lot of group fitness. We also have personal training and nutrition, but from a group fitness standpoint, we teach things like spinning, so indoor cycling, Pilates, yoga, tons of different types of yoga, a lot of cardio classes. So whether they be like cardio dance classes, or we teach a cardio drum class, that's the new exciting thing people are looking for. We do teach a lot of strength classes, core classes, Pilates, you name it. We have 55 classes per week on our schedule.
Wow.
Plus nutrition classes and personal training options. So you can find something that will work for you there. And that was the goal, is number one, to make fitness affordable for everyone, because it can get expensive really fast. And that should not be a reason that holds you back from getting healthy. So that is key for us. And then the second thing is, offer a variety, because yoga isn't for everyone and bar isn't for everyone and cycling isn't for everyone. So if we offer a variety, we're able to serve the public much greater than just being niche specific in just yoga or just strength or just cycle.
That's cool. You get all kinds of different people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All kinds. I mean, I think our youngest member right now is 20 and our oldest member is 78.
Wow.
It's incredible. I think our oldest member, I think she's 83.
Okay. That's awesome.
I forgot about her. She's incredible.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome, just a mix of ages and those kind of communities.
What is the coolest thing for me to watch, though, is the camaraderie and the friendships that develop there.
Yeah.
And seeing people who never would have been friends outside have these really deep friendships because of what is put together. And I always say to people, we didn't build the culture of our studio. Our members built the culture. And we'll have new people walk in the door and our members will just scoop them up and show them around and include them right away, to the point that sometimes I have to say, I need to just say hi. I need to introduce myself. So we have an incredible group of people. And I come from a really strong business background, and I'm like, well, we're not getting like a lot done in fitness. And why are they talking all the time? And, cause I'm used to like, we start this meeting, we end this meeting. And it doesn't work that way sometimes in fitness. And my partner pointed out, she's like, we provide community. We just do it through fitness.
Absolutely.
And once I heard that, I'm like, yes, that's what we do. We provide community and support and love, and we just do it through fitness.
It's the vehicle, but that's what people are looking for, is really that connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They need that connection. They need that camaraderie. They need to know that when they show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, their friend's going to be right there next to them, ready to do the same workout. Having a buddy to be able to go with is huge. But when they come to classes, they know what they can expect, and they know that they will have that support, not only from us, but from the other people in the class. We got so lucky with a group of people that we have at the studio. They all just love and care about each other so much and are there to support through not only fitness, but through life. I mean, we've had births, we've had deaths, we've had, loss of jobs or spouses, and it's just, they're there for each other no matter what. And it's super cool to watch.
That is so cool. Just going through life together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I had a different question. I can't remember what it was, but, and speaking of community, I just saw that you recently you won the Volunteer of the Year award at the Clarkston Chamber.
I did. I was so shocked and so excited. That community has just embraced me and has really helped me get this coaching business up off the ground. And it's easy. It's easy to give back, right? When you have a community that cares so much, it's a no-brainer to give back. And looking back at it, I wouldn't have changed a thing, award or no award. Like, being able to be there and be a part of the community is so important.
Well, and that's the thing. You probably weren't thinking about the end of the year award.
No, I had no idea. I'd never been to it before. And
this is your first time?
This was my first time. And, they kept saying, you're going to come to the gala, right? Like, you're coming, right? I'm like, I don't know. I got to teach and I got this and I got that. They're like, no, you really need to come to the gala. I'm like, okay, I get it.
That is so awesome.
It was super cool. And I'm just so grateful for everyone in the community who has done, everything in their power to make me and my business a success. I really, really owe a lot to that chamber and that community.
What do you do though to be Volunteer of the Year? What does that represent? What do you do to do that?
Make myself available at events to help, set up, tear down. We did a Concerts in the Park is a big event in the Clarkston area, and it's every Friday for 6 weeks in the summer. And so I would just show up and volunteer at their little ice cream booth and scoop ice cream and take money and interact with the community, and listen to great music all at the same time.
It's so cool. And Clarkston is such a cool community.
It is a cool community.
Just a lot of cool different people there. I had an opportunity before I started my business. I had a retail store that was in Ortonville. And so we got to do a lot of stuff with the Clarkston Chamber. And it's just always a lot of really cool events and getting cool people.
Yeah.
We did a murder mystery one year there. It was awesome.
Those are so cool. Yeah. Those are fun when they do those.
So much fun. It was so much fun. Yeah. But like, again, speaking of that community, it's so cool seeing all that tie in, because when you're building a business, it's a lot of that community.
Absolutely.
Not just your community of your clients, but the community in general.
Absolutely. And, my goal is to take my coaching on a national level, but not before I give back to this community here who helped me get started. And so we have options at the fitness studio where we can allow for people across the country to take our classes, because we have, Zoom classes that they can just log into virtually, and then a library of classes that they can access. So anyone across the country can be part of the fitness studio. And I'm working on that in the coaching business. I have branched out to just a few states right now where they're awesome. Able to be a part of the coaching group. And whether it's a group coaching or a one-on-one coaching, we can do it across the country and expand our reach, but not before I pay attention to the community that helped me get started.
Well, it's cool when you have a little bit of both. And
Yeah.
I see you do a lot of content. So is that where you get a lot of like your more national coaching or?
Yeah, definitely on the content and word of mouth because everyone has someone who lives out of state, or everyone, oh, hey, my friend from college would really benefit from this. Like I want you to talk to her. I want you to talk to him about it. And so it's word of mouth that will get me national, as well as the content on social media for sure.
I like talking about that piece. I was just talking about it today. Like it's a mixture. Some people will just do content. To me, I love part of the reason why I do business is because I love being a part of my community. I love getting involved in the stuff and in doing the different events and stuff like that. So like showing up at events, meeting people, but it's not just showing up at the events. It's doing what we did. Because I could have just showed up at the entrepreneur event and never talked to anybody again, right? Yeah. Part of having Coffee and Grit is like, it gave me a tool to be able to invite people that I wanted to know more about, to a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's really a lot of what it's always been about, is it gave me that tool that's like, how can I get more conversation with this person? How can I learn more in a cool way? And it's like, hey, you want to have a conversation on a podcast?
Yeah. Sure.
Really how it happened.
Yeah, for me, it's about developing relationships. So when I go and I give back to the community, or I volunteer, or I go to an event, it's about developing a relationship with someone. And whether it's, you meet 20 people and you connect and you develop relationships with 5 of those, then great. You just take it that level deeper. I mean, I would love to do it with all 20, but we know how realistic that is. And in this day and age, everyone is busy, and when it's the right time, it's the right time. I believe that people are put into your path for a reason.
Absolutely.
And those are the people that you want to connect with and develop a relationship with. I want to communicate with you. I want to know about you. I want to know what you do. When you and I did the Unplugged retreat, we happened to be speaking at the exact same time. Exactly. So we couldn't listen to each other's content. So it was nice to be able to connect outside of that, so that I could get to know you a little bit more and develop that relationship and see, where it takes us.
And that's always been my strategy. When I meet cool people, I want to have a more conversation with them. So it goes more than outside of that event. And I think a lot of times when people show up at a networking event, whether it's chamber or, whatever type of event it is, they think about, how do I make money or make a connection now? Yeah. And not thinking about that long term of inviting somebody out to coffee or having a conversation, different ways to have conversation and just grow a relationship. You're not there to sell per se. But then when you create content on top of it, as you're connecting with people, they may not even meet with you for a while, but then they see your content over and over again, because that's really what happened to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we connected on social media. We didn't meet up for a long time.
Yeah.
But we were seeing each other's content. And
we're
then,
like, hey, we got to talk.
Yeah. And then we made it happen.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's like, I love that. It's like, I don't know if it's psychology or just strategy or what, but when you connect with people like that, and you may not always get to them, but when you're creating that content, it's just people are starting to know you, like you, trust you.
Exactly.
Or not, because it could be pushing them away too, either way.
Yep.
Because I like doing either or,
Because you attract the right people.
Absolutely.
And that's who you're meant to attract.
I love it, because then you have cool conversations, and it's like everybody's connected, right? Like Brandon and Corey and Corey and Rhonda, and
it's like we're all connected. Exactly. Because we all have the same mindset of developing relationships and taking it a step further.
Yeah.
The days of just exchanging business cards for me are over. If we're going to exchange business cards, then I want a next date on when we can talk.
Yes, because to me, it's like the whole theory of like when we go to funerals or family events, and we're like, hey, let's get together before the next funeral. And then where are we seeing each other again? The next funeral, the next family event, one of the two. And it's not that I didn't want to see you or meet up with you. Life happens.
It does.
We got to the studio today. We're talking about we met in June, and it seems like it was just a couple months ago,
Exactly.
like it was because life just goes. We're all busy and things are happening.
Yeah.
If you don't take the time to be intentional to say, let's get it on the calendar and get that second date,
Exactly.
Another 5 months will pass by.
Yeah. It's all about being intentional, right? Being intentional with yourself and being intentional with the people who come into your life.
And being self-aware, because I know about myself that if we're talking about it right now, I've caught myself so many times where it's been a year, another year passes by. So I have to be like, hey, if I don't put this on the calendar right now, it will be another year.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then I call myself out, even though it's calling out most people, but then people usually do it, let's pull it out and look at it. And once we have it in the calendar, even if we have to reschedule it, it then gets rescheduled and we still do it.
Yep, absolutely. It's the intention behind it. And you can tell when you're talking to people if there's going to be like that connection and if they're really going to follow up with you. But I always make it a point to, if I tell you like, hey, let's connect, I'm going to connect with you. And it might not be tomorrow, but I have a list in my journal of like people to get coffee with. And when I meet a cool person, I say we don't put it on the calendar right then and there, it goes on that list. So I make sure like I don't ever forget that person, because I want them, one, to feel seen and valued. And secondly, there's a reason that we were meant to have that conversation at Unplugged that got us here today.
Yeah. I so agree. That's so awesome. I love how you write people down.
Yeah.
The other day I got asked how I get gas on mine. I was like, I don't know, it's just gonna happen. But it's this, right? It's the conversations. I'm here, I want to know more, or less. And then when I meet friends and it's like, let's put a spotlight on your story, let's get you on. It's like, it just happened, and I'm booked out till February, And
so cool.
It's a kind of a cool problem to have.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it just happens. Like, but when you're meeting people and connecting with people, it does just happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then somebody else is like, hey, you need to meet my friend over here. Or somebody else listens to the podcast and is like, hey, can you connect me to that guy? I want to talk to him, and it's just more, it quantifies.
Absolutely. It's not only who you know, it's how you know them and what relationship you have with them. And that's super cool. I love making connections for people, especially if they're connections where I have such a great rapport with both of them, and there's so much energy there, and being able to put two people together and see something so cool work. It's like, when Brandon put together Unplugged, he pulled the right people. Yeah. And it just was so cool.
It's so cool. And it's so cool because a lot of you probably knew each other, and then I came in, I didn't know any of you.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool mix. I've talked about this several times in the episodes, but people were vulnerable. In my sessions, people were crying.
Yeah,
mine too.
Me
too. It was like, this is where I want to be at. This is real people, as opposed to, I've been to so many business events where it's like, everything's great.
I'm not talking about anything. I don't want to go there. Yeah. My sessions were about communication, and just to see how much people really didn't know about communication and how much people struggled with communication. And I'm like, wow, they're really being open. And it was so cool to have those deep conversations with a group that didn't know each other. It was just such a cool atmosphere.
Yes. Yeah. With the group that didn't know each other. It's really, and it's cool to hear it was all across the board.
Yeah.
Because every event, every speaker I went to, it was that same authenticity from everybody. Yeah. And most people did not know each other. Yeah.
So cool.
It's going to be so much fun this year, because it's going to be
even bigger. Can't wait. Yes.
And then hopefully we won't be booked at the same time.
So yes.
We can hear each other's. Yeah. That was hard. That was the hard part. I was like, I don't know anybody, so I wanted to hear everybody talk.
I'm like, I want to know what he's doing over there.
Yeah. But that is the other cool thing from the speakers, is when we weren't speaking, we were able to hit the different events and be part of the rest of the community.
Yeah. I like that. I like being able to sit next to someone that I just coached and having a different conversation, but just as deep. Yeah. Being able to switch out of the coach role and have conversations on both sides is super cool.
It really is. Again, it's the human piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
think maybe that's why people connected really well to you.
Yeah. It is the human piece, and it's forgotten about so much. So much.
But it's the thing.
It is.
It's the magic ingredient.
Yeah. When you can connect with someone, and not just a superficial connection, but a really deep, meaningful connection, whether you help them and you connect them to someone else, or you really are interested in their story, or you're able to help coach them through something. I mean, it's a game changer when you look at other people as you would want them to look at you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's having that empathy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, that was the question I was going to ask earlier that I forgot was, if you're coaching clients because you've been in their shoes, what is that like from their standpoint? Do you get I feel like you've been there?
Absolutely. I feel like we have a deeper connection with each other because they know my story. Yeah. They know what I've went through physically. They know what I've went through from my own coaching experience, from being coached and having my mindset catch up to where my physical transformation was. I feel like they they feel like they can be more open because I can relate to them at a different level because I have been there. I know what it's like to do a push-up at over 300 pounds. I know what it's like to let go of a thought process of something my mom thought was cute, but I thought was not cute, as I got older. And so being able to talk about those things and like where the thought process with them came from, it just makes our connection so deep.
In thinking about that, like that vulnerability, like as your partner came up to you when she was your instructor and was, and you were thinking in your mind, like, am I doing something wrong? Is she about to say, could you imagine then if a voice would have told you that you're going to be sharing your story? What would your thought be?
Never, because I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed at that point because I had let myself get so out of control. The thought of sharing my story never even crossed my mind. I'm like, I'm never telling anybody any of this.
Yes.
Because if I tell them that I failed, why are they ever going to trust me? I'm like, but I didn't fail. I was able to come back from a spiral. I was able to come back from something that kept me stuck for so long and didn't allow me to be who I am authentically. Now I tell my story as much as I can because if I can just help one more person and one more person and one more person get their life back and get what I got out of the relationship I had with my partner, it'd be amazing. Like, and having it happen so many times so far, I just feel so lucky. And, I recently got married and, explaining kind of my life to my new husband. I'm like, this is kind of what I do. And this is why I do it. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then he witnessed it. He saw, he came into the studio to see a coaching client, and cause we kind of do celebration ceremonies sometimes. And he was able to be there for one of those. And he's like, okay, now I get why you do what you do. He's like, I get the deep connection. I get why you're so dedicated, because watching someone have the opportunity to change their life and be able to walk the path with them is so rewarding. And just helping them get to a point where they don't have to feel what I was feeling anymore. They can feel like they do matter, and that they are important, and that they are wanted and needed, and that they can do hard things.
And it goes back to, if you wouldn't have done all that stuff, like how powerful it is, because like that's your journey. You probably wouldn't have met your husband.
Never.
You wouldn't have your business. Like all these empowering things that we've talked about over the last hour wouldn't have been into your life if you wouldn't have did that hard shit.
Exactly. If I wouldn't have had the wake up call. And so again, everything happens for a reason. I always tell my clients, you are exactly where you're supposed to be at any given moment. Right now, I am meant to be here in this seat talking to you. And when you can really get through to them where you are exactly where you're supposed to be, even though it's hard, there's a lesson here. There's a good here. There's a positive here. Let's dig and find it.
I love that. I love that your opportunity crossed and you're meant to be here talking with me here today. And thank you so much for driving out here and having this conversation with me today.
Thank you for inviting me. It was wonderful.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. My pleasure.